I certainly support guys taking things to recover from injuries like Conor did with his leg injury, 100%.
And so think of it, Conor McGregor gets injured, then he gets out of the testing pool, can take anything he wants, train harder than last time, put in extra hours because he has enhanced recovery, and that gives him, of course, a significant advantage over if he remains in the testing pool. Coach Greg, in today's video, Derek from More Plates, More Dates, he's back on with Joe Rogan. And he made a post looking taller than last time, and it states, OnlyFans, celebrity fights, stem cells, body modifications, USDA, PEDs, and the world of Scientology, all going to be discussed on the Joe Rogan Spotify podcast 2073. And in today's video, we're going to be going over one of the clips that Derek discussed with Joe Rogan. More Plates, More Dates gives his thoughts on USADA and Conor McGregor. And so we're going to talk about what drugs are being banned, who is going to be drug testing. Let's get right into it.
What do you think about USADA getting replaced?
I don't know exactly what the new protocol is going to be, but I have heard that they're not going to let them take BPC 157.
And so USADA is being replaced, and so who knows what they're going to allow, disallow. Is it going to be fair? Is drug testing going to now be a little bit more sneaky than last time? They discussed not being able to take BPC 157. That is a healing peptide. And so think of it. You're a UFC fighter. How are you not getting injured? People are literally punching you in the face. And yet there's a peptide that can speed the rate of this healing. People often refer to this as the Wolverine peptide. And so is it really fair to disallow people from taking something that can make them heal faster? And so I'm asking you the question because personally, I don't know. Is it up to me? And so to me, if you're taking a healing peptide, something like BPC 157 or TB 500, to me, these are not natural. They are clearly giving you an advantage. If you take these peptides when you're injured and your opponent doesn't take these when they're injured, you are at an advantage. It's the same thing as if you're taking SARM, steroids, or other performance-enhancing drugs. But just because it's not natural, does that mean you shouldn't be allowed to take it? After all, should it not be up to the athletes? Could they not survey all of the UFC fighters and say, hey, which of these drugs do you think that we should test for and which should we not? And if every single athlete says BPC 157, yeah, that's okay. I'd like to take that. Then why would they ban it? If all the athletes are for it, does it not make sense to allow them to take it? And so why are we forcing these athletes to not take certain things if, for example, all of them want to do it? And so personally, I think it would make more sense if we actually included the athletes, the ones that are actually making the sport happen, the ones that put their bodies on the line, and literally ask them, would you like to test for this? Would you not like to test for this? And so what is wrong with that? And so personally, I think the vast majority of athletes are going to be in favor of taking a peptide that's going to allow them to heal. It's not a testosterone or SARM. It's not going to shut down your own body's natural production of testosterone. And so why not ask them? And if they're okay with it, why not say, yep, you can take it?
If they're following the same WADA banned substance list with the same kind of protocols, I imagine it's going to be similar.
And so apparently the new testing is going to be the same as what's on the WADA's banned drug testing list, except perhaps they might test them even more often.
From what I understand, more scrutinous testing on some of the endogenous bioidenticals. So like EPO, I think Nowitzki said they're going to up their frequency of testing.
And so in reality, as long as they're being open, honest, transparent, telling them exactly what to expect, and publishing the results, telling the athletes, the fans what's happening, I do believe that to be fair.
It's really weird how they justify certain compounds that can be used in and out of testing, because it's like you could abuse kind of amphetamines out of competition, but then you can't use BPC.
And so clearly none of this makes sense. I mean, certain compounds you're allowed to use out of competition, certain ones you can use in competition, certain things are allowed, certain things are disallowed. For example, marijuana. Should you not be allowed to use marijuana?
Yeah, but then it's like, why isn't guys like, Conor getting tested out the ass? Guy's face definitely still looks a bit saucy.
Well, he was jacked.
And somebody like Conor McGregor, who looked absolutely jacked, looked sauce. I mean, you can clearly see the suspicion on Joe Rogan when he talks about Conor McGregor. Do you really think this guy was natural? But as he broke his leg, do you really think it's fair to prevent him from trying to recover? Is it really fair to him, if he's injured, to say, you can't use anything? You can't take BPC 157, you can't take TB 500, can't take growth hormone or any healing peptides because you just can't. Why can't he? Why can't we allow people to recover faster than last time?
I think in a perfect world, professional athletes would utilize everything possible to get the best possible performance.
Yeah.
Again, my only concern would be young people ruining their endocrine system.
Exactly. If you're an adult and you want to recover faster than last time, then what is wrong with that? Now, on the other hand, if you're a young person using testosterone and you're ruining your endocrine system, as Joe Rogan pointed out, then that's bad. I can see why you would test for testosterone, steroids, and so on, but why are we testing for things that help you to heal?
Yeah, and some of the weight cutting will get even more extreme with diuretic use. And
Right.
yeah, some of it, you'll have a lot like kidney failures, pre-competitions.
Right.
And really, what's more dangerous, the amount of drugs that the athletes are taking or the weight cutting that's going on in the UFC? How often do we see people that are missing weight classes? Do you know how much they're struggling to make their weight class? They're perhaps losing 20 or more pounds in a few days, taking diuretics or not eating, drinking, going in saunas, sweating, and going on crash diets for months to get down to a fighting weight. We've seen Paddy the Baddy going from over 200 pounds fighting at 154. These are absolutely ridiculous and very harmful to your health. The yo-yo dieting, the body dysmorphia. Remember, it's not just the physical problems, but also the mental. Having to get so shredded and fight at such a light body weight, these sports are very dangerous.
I certainly support guys taking things to recover from injuries like Connor did with his leg injury. 100%. No question about it. I'm 100% all in on that. That's the only way. No one comes back from that.
And so Joe Rogan just stated, I'm 100% in favor of somebody like Conor McGregor taking things to speed up his recovery. And as am I. Why would you not? Imagine you have millions of dollars and you're injured and you can't take a peptide just because you're an athlete. But if you're not an athlete, you'd be taking those. Would you not want the opportunity to heal faster than last time? Just picture this. You're not a UFC fighter, but you break your leg. If I told you you could get back up and running, go back to work in 10 weeks instead of 20, would you not want to do that? I mean, think of it. You may not be an athlete, but if you get back to work quicker, you can go make money faster. And would you not think that that's fair? And so should we be preventing these athletes from taking healing peptides just because WADA USADA does not want people to take them? Who makes these rules and why do we have to follow them?
I just don't see how you can take 2 years off, multiple surgeries, get on juice, get off juice, and then jump in there against the best in the world.
And Joe makes a great point. Imagine being out of competition for 2 years, having been injured and having to recover, and suddenly jumping in and fighting the best athletes in the world. Who could do that? In what sport could someone do that? Imagine you're a professional baseball player, you break your leg, your arm, and you haven't batted in a year, and suddenly you're in this World Series in Game 7, you're expected to hit a home run? Really? Do you not need to practice and get used to it again? And so I absolutely think it makes way more sense to take a lower tier fighter and get used to fighting yet again.
If you give someone an exemption, you let them get out of the pool, and they're taking some hardcore steroids to heal their shin break, how much gain do you maintain from that improvement in your performance? Because it's not zero.
And so think of it. Conor McGregor gets injured, then he gets out of the testing pool, can take anything he wants, train harder than last time, put in extra hours because he has enhanced recovery, and that gives him, of course, a significant advantage over if he remains in the testing pool.
I think a lot of it is also indirect through the time in the gym and skill acquisition.
And so is this not a loophole in the system? You know, I'm going to go out of the testing pool, I'm going to take whatever I want, I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to keep a lot of those gains, but I now have to stop taking these things. And so how is this possible? How are we allowing people to do this?
The guy was essentially unrecognizable compared to traditional, Conor.
Yeah, he looked like a light heavyweight.
Yeah, it was like, to me, his face looked like the first time a guy takes gear. Like, oh, wow, you've gained like 15 pounds of water.
And so Derek says it looked to me like Conor McGregor took gear for the first time. His face, he had a moon face. He looked like he put on a minimum of 15 pounds of muscle. And this doesn't happen when you're natural. And so considering he was out of the testing pool and could then take whatever he wants, would it not make sense for Conor McGregor to take anything and everything to order to return faster and better than ever before? And after all, as Joe Rogan pointed out, how many people have come back from these injuries? And so even with all the performance-enhancing drugs in the world, do you really think you can just come back after a 2-year layoff and beat the best athletes in the world? I don't think so.
Whatever tissue you've accumulated will slowly go over the next months, which you'd probably retain, I don't know, I would say half by the time he, maybe 25 to 50%.
And so how much muscle you actually gain if you did a cycle, for example, let's call it 3 or 4 months, a year later. Derek speculates perhaps it's 25 to 50%. I'm going to say far, far less than this. How much are you going to keep? Well, it depends. Are you past your natural genetic limit? If you're already at your natural genetic limit and you put on 20 pounds of muscle, it's highly unlikely you're going to keep more than, for example, 1 or 2 pounds of muscle. Remember, it's a year later. You're slowly going to be losing gains throughout the entirety of the year. But if you're perhaps a newbie lifter, you're just getting into the gym and you put on 20 pounds of muscle, a year later, perhaps you kept as much as half, and that would be 10 pounds. And so Derek speculates it's somewhere between 25 and 50%. And so I do believe that depends on how much experience you have in the gym, whether or not you did a PCT, and whether or not you kept training harder than last time after you stopped your cycle. Please check out Derek on the Joe Rogan podcast. And the number one supplement that I would say all athletes should be taking in the UFC or in any endurance sport, GO2 Max. It's not banned by WADA. It does have NMN. It's going to have increased endurance. How could you not take this if you're an endurance athlete or want more energy than last time? Remember, it's not just for couch videos. It's also for elite level runners and so on. And if you're interested in this, don't forget to go and check out my website, code Greg, 10% off. Also, if you're into weight cutting and you're on crash diets, your testosterone levels may go down, consider G-Test or 3-Test, code Greg, 10% off. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it and add a comment if you can. Also, watch one of the 2 bloops. Don't forget about the cookbooks, the training books, coaching plans by me and my team. Also, the Circle Diet book, my life's work, how to lose weight, keep it off. And of course, the clothing line, there's tank tops, hoodies, there's all kinds of stuff. Head over to the website, code Greg, 10% off. Also, free diet and training programs. Don't forget about those. And until next time, I am out.